Before we get on with this video, I would just like to say real quick that I'm not promoting the use of any illegal or legal substances. It's merely to inform and promote harm reduction. So first things first, I'll explain what DXM is. If you don't already know, DXM is a dissociative drug which is similar to ketamine. DXM is used in medicine as a mild cough suppressant. Usually the medicinal dose would be between 15 and 30 milligrams depending on your weight. You most likely took cough syrup with DXM in it when you were sick as a kid, and you probably didn't even know it. NyQuil, Dayquil, Delsym, Robitussin are all examples of cough syrup that contains DXM. At high dosages of DXM, the user can achieve a fairly powerful high or a dissociative trip. To get high, you must consume much more DXM than you would to cure, your common cough. 150 milligrams of DXM is considered to be the lowest recreational dose. The effects of DXM are highly dependent on the dosages. People who robotrip often call the different levels of a DXM high plateaus. There are 4 total plateaus, where 3 is the most desirable, and that's what most people aim for. I will explain the effects of the different plateaus from my own experience as well as others' experience that I've read about so that you can choose what you would like to visit or so that you can know the effects of DXM so you would never have to try this drug. So starting off with the first plateau, or the lowest level of recreational use, some of the effects would be love and affection would be increased. I would like to explain this as those around you may seem like your best friend, like everyone's your best friend. Um, you may feel more sociable, more talkative. You have a greater connection with those around you. Um, and then music sounds beautiful. Music sounds absolutely amazing. Um, it's just everything sounds deeper. You can feel almost every single level of the music. It's very hard to explain this for someone who's never used this substance before, but it's similar to as if you're really stoned or drunk or something, and you feel just more connected to the music. You can understand it better. I'm not sure if that's the best way of describing it, but the music is definitely increased and sounds a lot better. I find that singing along to the music and dancing is very, very enjoyable at this level. I think dancing feels amazing. Your body feels very fluid. There's a great body high. At this dose, it's actually very easy to hide the fact that you're high. People may assume that you're just in a good mood, or if you smoke weed a lot, people may just think that you're stoned. It's very euphoric. Music sounds awesome. You're more sociable. Sitting in any position may feel very, very comfortable, even if you're like in a wooden chair and usually wouldn't be all that comfortable. You kind of feel like you're floating on a cloud. It's sort of like a mellowed out opiate high with a more uh, psychedelic feel, which is this is very hard to explain to someone who's never done any dissociative drug before. Um, what I would like to Another way that I like to explain it is that it takes all the griping away, so you won't complain about anything. Everything is pleasurable to do. Doing chores would be like the most lit thing in the whole fucking world. Everything is super lit. You're like, oh shit, man. I don't know. Maybe I should just do fucking push-ups right now because that's fucking lit. Like everything just seems cool. And that's about it for the first plateau. So for the second plateau, I would just like to say that the second plateau is fairly similar to the first, just with very, very more amplified. Everything's more amplified than the first. So all the effects of first plat are just increased. You may sound funny at this dosage and talk differently than usual. It's not that you're slurring your words, you just may sound a little different. Your pupils will be very big, not like MDMA or meth or some other drug like that, but you definitely will have bigger pupils. Um, I find that it's not super difficult to hide the fact that you're high on the second plateau. In fact, it's fairly easy as long as as long as you're not at like work or something like that. In fact, one time I was actually on the second plateau with my family, and I was actually just playing cards with them and listening to music, and I actually had a great time, and they never knew. Like I was just taking dose, I was just redosing the entire night. and I was high the whole night, and we were just playing cards and having a good time, but they never knew. So it's very easy to hide if you know, are experienced, but it's more difficult than first plat for sure. You will feel more kind of drunkish. Like if you turn around, you may be like, you may not remember like what you were looking at before. It's like when you're drunk and then you turn around and you forgot about the trip that it took for you to turn around. It's kind of weird. Um, it's extremely euphoric at this level. You'll feel very, very good. Body high will be good. Your thoughts will be good. Um, closed-eyed visuals at low tolerance. If you don't have a tolerance, meaning like the first few times you take DXM, you will have closed-eyed visuals. If you close your eyes, you'll see like lots of little sparklies moving around, different colors, certain things like that. It's very pleasurable. Moving around and walking may become more difficult. You may feel heavier or lighter depending on yourself. It's different for everyone. I tend to feel a little more heavier at this dosage, so I can't move as fast, stuff like that. Eating seems very unappealing. You don't want to eat. Everything tastes like rubber at this dosage. All your thoughts are positive, and you'll have these trippy thoughts. So someone may say something, and you'll just think about it and be like, "Holy fuck, dude, that's crazy," and you'll just think about that thing for a very long time. It's uh it's very pleasurable, and I definitely do enjoy the second plateau. It's not my favorite plateau, but it is definitely very enjoyable. Um, it's a great drug to socialize with people and to if you want to party or whatnot. Second plateau would be a good dosage. So the third plateau has a special place in my heart. The third plateau is what most people aim for, as it tends to be the most fucked up, as in you are the most intoxicated at this plateau. Of course, there is the fourth, but most people do not enjoy the fourth, and I'll get to that later. But for the third plateau, do not expect to socialize or be around people, as you will not be able to talk. You will slur most of your words. Your double vision is pretty much guaranteed. You won't be able to see very well. You have to close one eye if you want to read anything, stuff like that. You will have the robo walk. If you don't know what the robo walk is, it's like basically walking drunk, except much more difficult. Your feet feel, or sorry, your legs feel very alien to you, and as you're walking, it's like you're literally walking like a robot. It's kind of like you can't bend your knees as well, and you're kind of just stumbling around. That's kind of annoying, but for the for the third plateau, we definitely recommend that you do not do much. You just sit around in your room and listen to music. That's the best way to enjoy the third plateau. Um, at this level, you will have very introspective and trippy slash disassociative thoughts. So you will ask questions about your life. Everyday activities will seem foreign to you, and you'll question them. Some questions that I have experienced, I'm just like, why do people even go to work? What do I do at my job? My house seems so strange. Common things will seem foreign to you. One time I just completely forgot what I did at my job, and I sat there just pondering, like, what do I do at work every single day? Like, why do I go to work? What is my job? And then the high third plateau is a little different from just, a mid to low dose. I say high third plateau is called the alternate reality. That's what I like to call it anyway. You may forget entirely who you are. You may not even remember your name or who you are or who your family is. It's super strange, and you just feel weird, but it's very pleasurable. Very, very intense closed eyes visuals. You may close your eyes and just completely be in a different room or a different environment completely. One time I came back from my summer camp and I tripped when I got home, and when I closed my eyes on third plat, and I smoked a bunch of weed beforehand as well. Um, when I closed my eyes, I was literally back at my summer camp in the middle of the woods. It was crazy. It was insane. Um, Amazing euphoria. It feels like you're swimming in an ocean of pleasure. You're just sitting there and you just feel good. I feel like you feel like you're floating on water, like one of those rafts or something like that, and you just feel amazing. You will have open eye visuals also at this level at high doses of DXM. Everything will seem kind of like sharp to you. At least that's how I perceive it anyway. Uh, my room looks kind of like Minecraft in my opinion. It's like all the edges are amplified and everything looks sharp. You also see all these little flurries around. It's more staticky. Music is very trance-like at this dosage. You just kind of close your eyes and listen to music and fade away, basically. It's just like a K-hole almost. I've never done ketamine actually, but I'm guessing it's very similar to the third plateau. Uh, music is music feels like it's washing over you. Everything seems to be in slow motion. You can pick out certain like parts of the music and just focus on that part. Another aspect of the third plateau would be ego death. People refer to ego death, or people usually think ego death is something that you will only experience on LSD or shrooms or even DMT, but it's very, 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 very common on high doses of DXM on the third plat, and it's different than other drugs for sure. It's kind of like, oh, I know who I am, and then you forget who you are, and then you remember your name, and then you forget your name, and then you remember, a certain aspect of your life, and then slowly, slowly you piece back together your life uh, by, one thought at a time. You ask a question, and then your brain will answer it automatically. It's super, super overwhelming, but it's a very healing and spiritual feeling, and it's actually something that most people will actually enjoy. Most people describe the fourth plateau as complete and total disassociation. I've never been to the fourth plateau, but from what I've heard, it's just a complete disassociative blackout. You won't remember almost anything that happens during the trip. You most likely will just take the medicine, an hour later you'll throw up or whatnot, and then you'll just wake up the next morning and not know what the hell happened. It's not like a Xanax blackout where you move around and whatnot and you actually like do things. It's more of just a complete you lay in your bed disassociated. You're still conscious and you're still there. Like if someone came in your room and like woke you up, you would still be there and you would be able to talk. It would be very slurred, but you would just not remember anything and you would just wake up the next morning and you would be just completely you would feel pretty shitty. You just completely wasted your trip and your night. So I do not recommend going to the fourth plateau. Most people do not, and I probably will not ever in my life. And then next, I would like to talk about the DXM afterglow. The afterglow refers to the hangover from DXM. The afterglow tends to last for about 12 to 18 hours after the trip. For me, I always sleep after my trip, like I always do trip at night and then go to sleep. And when I wake up in the next morning, I am still afterglowing, and I tend to, be afterglowing until about the time that I read or I dosed originally the night before. So it does last quite a long, long time, and the effects of the afterglow are very pleasurable. It's a very, very great body high. Everything feels very comfortable. It feels like a very mild opiate high to me. Everything seems very mild and chill. Everything seems still to me. It's like the world is still and everything is peaceful and perfect. Smoking weed on the afterglow will intensify it, and you may even like feel as if you're tripping again when you smoke weed on the afterglow. But that is also part of the reason why it's such an addictive drug. It's because the afterglow feels so good, and once it wears off, you may just feel shitty because you want to be tripping again, or you want to feel the afterglow again. So I would like to touch down on DXM addiction in this video, as it is a very real possibility, and it is something that I have struggled with before. I've never been addicted as in daily usage, but I have done multiple trips in 1 week, whereas I did 4 trips in a row, and the next week I did 4 trips in a row, and the next week I did 4 trips in a row for about 3 weeks, and it was not a great time in my life. So I want to just touch down on the what DXM addiction is, what it's like, and why it's a very real possibility. DXM is very addictive and appealing to people who struggle with depression, anxiety, PTSD, or have experienced something in their past that they would like to escape from. The reason why it's so addictive is because it's the perfect escape. I like to refer to DXM as the best vacation of your life in 6 hours. Once the afterglow wears off, you may begin feeling extremely anxious and depressed. The crave you crave the experience of the night before, and nothing will ever satisfy that unless you dose again, and then you will feel that afterglow, and you'll just be like, wow, this is fucking amazing. And then once it wears off, you'll feel shitty, and all you want to do is to just take more DXM so that you can experience that alternate reality where everything is perfect and you only experience good and positive thoughts. This will lead you to take DXM over and over and over again, and eventually you may just live from trip to trip. And that is something I did experience, where I would just take DXM and then I would feel great, and then it would wear off, and I would just feel really, really, really gross and not great. I did not feel great with my life, so I would just trip again, and I was just living from trip to trip to trip, and there was no point in my life unless I was on DXM. When you're not on DXM, and if you're addicted and you're not on DXM, you may become angry easier. Slightly inconvenient circumstances may set you off, as in something very mild may happen, like you may drop your phone or whatnot, and you'll just be super, super pissed off and just start talking to yourself and yelling. Um, and it's very gross and very not nice to people around you. You may not feel like you want to be around people. DXM addiction will make you very lazy. You won't want to do much except for drive to the store to buy more DXM or just lay in your room and listen to music if you're not on DXM. And if you are on DXM, you'll just feel amazing. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy drug to become addicted to, and it's horrible. It actually is horrible. Do not become addicted to DXM like I have. I recommend that you follow the week per plateau rule, which means that if you reach the third plateau, you take 3 weeks off, and then if you reach the first plateau, you take a week off before you trip again. That is the best way to keep the magic of DXM, to not build up a tolerance, and to try to not become addicted to it. So there's actually very little evidence that DXM abuse will cause negative health effects. It's known to be bad for your liver, but it's definitely not as bad as alcohol abuse. So that's also a reason why a lot of people just take it every day because they're like, this is not even going to be bad for me. It's not even bad for my health, and that is true. It definitely will not affect your health in any way. Uh, I mean, long term, of course, your liver might get fucked up, but you're not going to be thinking about that if you're addicted to DXM. DXM does, however, affect your cognitive ability. In my experience, daily to multiple times a week use greatly affects your short-term memory. If you smoke weed, then your short-term memory will suffer. However, DXM abuse will take this to a completely different level. So obviously, I do not suggest that you try DXM, but if you're watching this video, you either are intent on trying this substance and nothing will change your mind, or you already have tried DXM. So therefore, I am going to give a few pointers to help new shippers out to have the best and safest experience. So before we get into it, I would just like to say two very important things. Number one is to do not steal DXM products no matter what. It's very easy to do. I've done it myself before. I'm not proud of it. It is very easy. You can just walk into CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, whatnot, grab your cough syrup or gel, stick it in your pocket, and walk out. And you might be like, why is that a big deal? The reason it's a big deal is that eventually, if DXM products keep getting stolen, then they're going to begin regulating it, as it's over the counter right now. They're going to make it prescription only if they keep on saying that it's stolen for abuse. And secondly, if you are intent on trying DXM, make sure that your cough medicine has DXM as the sole active ingredient. Triple C's are a very, very, very bad idea if you want, if you're going to abuse cough medicine. There's an antihistamine in along with the DXM, and it can cause death and seizures and lots of other bad things. You do not want to try triple C's. Lots of people, say, man, I just took a bunch of triple C's and I'm super fucked up. Well, it's very, very bad for you. So do not try triple C's. Also, lots of cough medicines out there have lots of Tylenol in it, which is very bad for your liver. Also, a lot of them have guaf in it or guafenicin, which will it's not generally bad for you. However, it will cause a very unpleasurable trip as you will be spending most of the trip sitting on the toilet, shitting your brains out, and puking your brains out. So yeah, make sure that you only have DXM as the active ingredient. You can check on CVS or Walgreens or whatever and find one or find a product that only has DXM in it. I'm not going to recommend any specific products because that would just be encouraging use. So before you try any substance, and especially DXM, know what you're getting into and be prepared for your first time. The first time you take a substance, you won't know how your body or mind will react, so take it in a safe and comfortable environment. For your very first time taking DXM, I recommend that you do it in your room, which is a very comfortable environment for most people. You know, you're in a place that you enjoy, a place that you spend a lot of time, and a place that you're very familiar with. So in case something happens or whatnot, at least you know what's going on and where you are. I also recommend that you have a sober trip sitter, someone who you trust, who is very close to you, who knows you very well and knows how to help you in case something goes wrong. I mean, it's not like you're going to overdose on DXM or anything like that. However, you may become freaked out. So if you have someone there with you, they can help calm you down, you know, tell you a story or whatnot to help you, refocus on the good in your life. I also recommend that you start very low. You take maybe a first plat dose, maybe a second plat dose, whatever. If you're experienced with drugs, maybe a second plat dose would be fine. But if you've never done anything before, maybe if you only smoked weed, I recommend just a first plat dose. DXM dosage is also weight dependent, meaning I cannot tell you how much to take for your first time. So for me, maybe 450 milligrams would be a third plat. For me, that may be a first plat for you. So I cannot tell you, but check the description for the website dexcalc.com. You put in your weight, and it will tell you how much of the cough syrup or how many gel caps to take in order to reach your desirable plateau. If you're going to be tripping on DXM, I recommend that you take it on an empty stomach. You should wait 4 to 6 hours after your last meal to dose. This allows the DXM to kick in much faster and to be as potent as possible. Before your trip, make sure that you have everything that you will ever need or want close to you within reach, because you won't want to be trying to find something mid-trip because you're going to be fucked up and you won't be able to find anything, especially at high doses. So make sure you have a big glass of water or a water bottle next to you, because staying hydrated while on any substance is, very important. If you smoke or, use nicotine, make sure you have your vapors, cigarettes, or whatnot next to you. I do recommend that you smoke weed on DXM. It enhances the effects and is very pleasurable. So if you smoke weed, then you can have that next to you. Make sure your phone is charged and that you have a playlist set up beforehand. I can recommend some music if you are going to trip, because you know, music is very important. So I'll put a playlist in the description. If you are going to trip, you can listen to that playlist. It has a lot of good songs on it that sound very good on DXM, because not all music will sound good. I don't want to listen to hard metal or, like gang rap while I'm on DXM, because it'll be overwhelming and it may become very uncomfortable. And one thing you should expect for your first trip or any trip in general is that you should expect to throw up. Your body does not want that much cough syrup or that many cough gels in your body. You are abusing a medicine. You are abusing, something that you're not supposed to. Your body doesn't want that. So you should be throwing up about an hour after you dose, especially if you take cough gels. So make sure that you keep a like a garbage can or a bag or something nearby, so that you can just puke right in there and then throw that away, and you can be good to go. Because once you throw up, you're going to be hit with a massive wave of euphoria and you're going to feel amazing. So you don't want to deal with cleaning up puke and whatnot. I would also like to talk about DPH. DPH, or Benadryl, mixed with DXM, can help nausea, help the robo itch. It also potentates DXM, so it can make it more strong. And I also have experienced some pretty crazy visuals at low doses of DPH plus a high dose of DXM. So I do recommend taking between 50 and 100 milligrams. It completely helps with the nausea and can completely take away the robo itch. So if you're going to be tripping on DXM or any drug in general, make sure that you have the time set aside for it. DXM usually lasts 6 hours, but it can last up to 8 hours. For me, I usually feel the effects for about 4 hours, and then I come down and have the afterglow begin. So make sure that you don't have anything going on for 6 hours. If you trip during the day, make sure that you don't have anything important going on at night. Or if you're, tripping at night, make sure you don't have anything too important going on in the morning, because, you will feel different, and it's not great if you're going to work when you're still tripping, or if you're, after growing super hard. So that wraps up my video on DXM. I don't really have a script for this part, but I just want to say thank you if you watch all the way to the end, and I hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, you can for sure, leave them in the comments, and I'll answer as many as possible, as long as I didn't answer it in this video already, or if I get a bunch of repeat questions, I won't answer those. But feel free to leave questions, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I'm also going to put a bunch of sources in the comments. These are where I got a lot of information. Obviously a bunch of a bunch of this video was my experience, but there are sources where I received a lot of information. The r/dxm subreddit is a great tool if you're new and would like to learn more, so I'll leave a link to that. I'll also leave a link to my Spotify playlist and DexCalc. So yeah, the purpose of this video was to explain DXM and what it's like to be on it so that you never have to try it for yourself. If you do end up trying it, just make sure that you stay as safe as possible.